If you sit on a sector which has a star into Copenhagen, you will probably have a holding. And that holding you must be able to manage, especially in busy situation. So it's time to perfect holding management. Stay tuned. You're probably thinking, how hard is it to do holdings anyway? Well, making airplanes hold is easy, but that's not even a fraction of what this video is about. We are talking about effective management of holdings, and when you master all aspects of this, it's super fun. Now, when I talk about management of holdings, I'm talking about mastering 3 phases. Managing clearing airplanes into the hold, managing descending airplanes inside the holding, and manage the exit and precise sequencing out of the holdings. I will not be showing for all 5 holdings because otherwise this video will become 3 hours long, so I will be using the Aalpeep hold on the Monarch arrival as an example, as this is the most common and complex holding, which leads us to part 1, the entry. This is the easiest part. You need to clear airplanes into the holding. The most significant thing being to mark it in their tag by clicking on COBEX, hold, and the point of the holding. What happens now is that the holding list appears. This is a vital tool. So the first thing you should do is to set that up. And please do it in good time before it gets busy. Give yourself a good start. You should set up 3 things in this list. First, sort the holding correctly. Go to the menu right of View, and this will normally be called ETO/HPT. And this is fine for the occasional holdings, but not for the kind of holdings we do at Vectors to Copenhagen. You want to click that and select HPT/CFL/AFL. This sort the holding list for stacked holdings like the ones we use at VTC. Secondly, as you see the name of the holding there, you need to open the holding profile view. Go and left click on that. By doing that, you will see a window opening showing you a profile view of the holding as a column, as well as a columns for approaching the hold. Resize it so it starts your airspace limit and goes down to exit flight level. Third, I choose to hide labels. This is more of a personal choice, but I do recommend it to you as well, and I'm sure you will find, after a brief period of getting used to it, that you will really like it as well. Click in the view area and select LBL. You will then see on the left of the holding list that this adds this rectangle, and if you go and press it in the holding list, it allows you to hide the tag of the airplane. Click it again to show the tag. I will explain the rest of the video under the pretense of using this feature. So, airplane is cleared into the holding. The hold is updated in the COBEX. This is a tactical marker that he has been cleared into the holding, so do not select this until you're sure he has understood it, because it's so easy to forget who you cleared into a holding and who you didn't. Then make sure his cleared level is not interfering with anybody else's. Use the visual profile to confirm this. Remember, it can be a very full holding sometimes. If he just goes on top, then it's all good. If he shelves into some place, like it often happens at Aalpeep, then keep an eye to make sure that he reaches the level well before the holding. Here's where the label starts coming into place. Once everything is good, I press it, I remove the tag from the screen, and it signifies that he is set for the holding. The one downside to this is that if he messes up and don't enter the holding, then it's a little more difficult to spot. But I choose to live with it, and I think you can as well. If you cannot, well, you can mark this when he's established in the holding. But I do it the first way, it's easier. By the way, you can with advantage tell the pilot free speed when you clear him into the holding. Now, let's move to part 2. What happens in the holding? Here we are, of course, talking about managing descents. How do we manage descent? Via the tag? No. This is inaccurate and it's very prone to mistakes. That's another reason why I hide the labels, is to make the holding look more clean and avoid looking at the tags. The holding, you 100% control here, via the holding list and the holding graphic. Because you changed the view in the beginning, as you remember, all the airplanes are now sorted very nicely. The highest cleared flight level on the top and the lowest in the bottom. And the left side of that is the actual flight level, and in the middle an area for an arrow that indicates if it's an active climb or descent. Below is the graphic, and that shows a line if they're level and a block altitude between their actual and the cleared level if they are in descending. The way you should control a holding, and it's important, it should be like this. You control and clear from the holding list. Then you verify that instruction in the holding graphic. If you change something like here, Scandinavian 031, to a cleared flight level which creates a conflict because another aircraft is occupying the level, your graphic turns red. In this very example, it was just a matter of 100 feet and not a real conflict, but it shows that it's a great tool to check and catch if you make a mistake in the holding list. And that's how it should be used. Say it again, control and clear from the list, like this, clear to the new level, and then verify that instruction in the graphic. Now the second thing is, how are you allowed to descend? Like this. You must always ensure 1,000 feet separation between two airplanes in a holding. What does it mean? It means that if you have one airplane here at flight level 150 and another one at flight level 140, then you must descend the first one to flight level 130, and then when he's there, you may descend the second one to flight level 140. Because if you descend them at the same time, you risk that one descends very fast and the other one descends very slow, and then you have a loss of separation. So first one has to descend 1,000 feet below, and then you can descend the next. Actually, you may do it within 300 feet, as that is the official non-RVSA margin of error in maintaining a level. So when this airplane reaches flight level 133, 300 feet above, you may begin descent to flight level 140 for the next one. You do have a little more freedom though if there's more than 1,000 feet between them. Here, for example, there's 3,000 feet between them. If I descend this guy now from flight level 160, then I still have a chance to stop him at flight level 140 if the second guy is descending too slowly. You have to make sure that this guy, though, is descending before you do it. So look at the arrow in the holding list. And personally, I think 2,000 feet is a bit too little of a margin, so I recommend only doing this technique if you have 3,000 feet or more in between, but it's your choice. If you have that though, like here, flight level 160 and flight level 130, then I descend this guy to flight level 120, and then you wait until you have the downward arrow and 300 feet of margin, because that's signifying that he is in fact descending. And then this guy can be descended to flight level 130. That'll keep you safe 99% of the time. And by the way, the 300 feet is also the margin in the holding graphic for when it turns red or it turns green. So, in summary, you descend from the list, verify via the graphic. If within 1,000 feet, then you must have 700 feet below the intended flight level of the one you wish to descend. And if you have 3,000 feet or more between them, then you must have 300 feet below the intended flight level of the one you wish to descend. Now, the last part, the exit and resequencing out of the holding. That part very few controllers really think about, but because we need to maintain a constant rate into approach, so they can deliver a constant rate to final, so final can deliver at the correct rate to tower. It's a massive machinery, and we need to have precise exits from the holding to achieve our part of it on ACC. We do it by using proper technique. Here is Lufthansa 291. He's cleared out of the holding, let's say after an approach stop, just to put you in the situation. He's the first guy out, and it is of course easy because there's no sequencing, you just send him out. The sequencing starts when you are, as I would call him, finished with him. That means the three things has been fulfilled. Note them down. He's cleared back onto the star, Nexo in this case. He's cleared to his exit flight level, which is flight level 90 in this case. And he has been assigned to 250 knots. Important step. Do not forget this. All that's left for him now is to send him to approach, which we will do in a moment. But as soon as these three conditions are fulfilled, we need to get the next guy ready. So we click in the label button, in the bottom of the holding list for the next guy. That's Austrian 642 to get him to show up in our holding. Now we await that Lufthansa 642 leaves the holding. When he's approximately around the time that he passes the holding fix outbound, just approximately, just don't do it here or here, just around here. Okay, so there is Austrian 642. What we want is to get him out of the holding by giving him a tactical vector. And that needs to be a very specific vector. It needs to be perpendicular to the holding pattern in the direction of the racetrack in order to build our gap. This means you see where he is. If he's inbound to the holding, right heading 120 because that is perpendicular and turning towards the racetrack. If he's on the downwind side, it's a right turn to a heading of 300 to turn perpendicular and towards the racetrack. If he's in a turn at the edges of either holding, just give him a continuous 270-degree right turn towards the racetrack, like this. If he's there or there just before the turn, then just wait a minute until they actually start turning, and then you don't risk them turning the wrong way. Now, when this is done, then we need to start to create space. Depending on the star, there are different flow rates. So we will use the Bravo flow rate of 3 minutes for this lesson. The precise flow rate for each sector is specified in each lesson. There are a couple of ways to see the spacing. You can right-click on the Codex on each tag to see the estimate time overhead to fix, in this case Nexo, which is the one you need to sequence by, or you can use the 3-minute vector arrow in the ASR file to predict it. Remember, this is not enabled by default, so press on the right-click on the empty space of the highlighted tag area to display it. While these two are theoretically more precise, they come with a few problems, mainly that the time prediction is simply a gyroscope tool based on current ground speed. And as it's flying perpendicular, the ground speed is vastly different from what it would be flying towards Nexo, so it's not always that precise. Therefore, I prefer and recommend the third option. Use the mileage equivalent for the minutes. The trick here is that the required mileage will vary with how much wind is present. But on a normal day, you will need 15 miles for 3 minutes. So I will take the Top Sky QDM tool, or even easier, using the Alt plus Q shortcut to click on the two airplanes that I have the distance shown. Leave Austrian 642 on that perpendicular heading and let the gap build up until you have around 13 miles of separation. Then it's time to turn him towards Nexo. Now listen to my words, turn towards Nexo. Give him a vector toward Nexo. It takes forever for pilots to put in a direct in their FMC and fly it. And they're mostly super fast at flying the vector you give them, so just give them a vector and then clear him direct to Nexo once he is in the turn towards it. That will minimize the delay. So my advice, remember the things we need to fulfill: direction, speed, level. Split everything into these two instructions and keep them together at all times. Austrian 642, turn right heading 040, descend flight level 90. Austrian 642, proceed direct to Nexo, rejoin the arrival, speed 250 knots. That's everything, now he's finished. 15 miles spaced and towards Nexo. What happens now? Well, next level gets activated and we do it all again. So, that was a lot. In essence, it was clear number 1 on route, altitude, speed. When done, activate the next label. When number 1 is roughly a beam to holding fix, go for your sequence for number 2. Holding cancelled, right or left turn, whatever is needed. Perpendicular to the holding, direction towards racetrack. Alt Q to get the QD mic. While distance build up, you can focus on other descents in the holding. When approximately 13 miles is built up, or to be more precise, approximately 2 miles from the desired separation, in one instruction, right or left heading whatever, needed to fly towards the handover fix, which is Nexo in this case, descend flight level 90, and in another separate instruction, proceed direct to Nexo, speed 250 knots. That's the condition fulfilled, so activate the next airplane, and when number 2 passes the holding fix, repeat again for number 3, and onwards we go. You can check with the vector line after you get them direct if it fits with 3 minutes. If the total separation is a bit too high or low, you just change the point where you start giving the turn towards Nexo, because it may vary with strong winds. These 3 parts are the essence of holding management. Does it sound difficult? Well, nobody said it was a walk in the park, but a few effective techniques, when taught and trained a bit, will make your life a lot easier. The specificity of each holding is discussed in each ACC sector chapter. Good luck, good holds, and thanks for watching.